Okay, we go live again because we like lives so much. Should be online or not yet. Yeah, it is now. So it should start hearing myself in about 5 seconds, 10 seconds or so. Right. I can hear myself now. That's okay. Sharing on Twitter. We'll keep calling it Twitter just to annoy someone that I don't want to mention their name. How do we do that? Post and run. We also do LinkedIn. I have to do it on our screen because I'm actually using LinkedIn, so there might be messages or things like that popping up. Therefore, the other screen. So that's done. Let's quickly go over what we have on Bionic Chaos so far, and then just 1 second. I want that door to bang because I have a window open. Yeah, I was in OBS playing around with the background blurring and stuff, so that's some sort of neural net that does it, but it's not doing very well. Where is its settings? Filters. Yes, it's using this background removal. Trying to use a GPU, and I don't think it actually works on Linux. I'm actually potentially using my CPU. And also, right, so it's using media pipe, which is also what we were using for a media pipe images. Yeah, it's the same thing that we were using for detecting hands and things. Might get it to work as well. Pop it on another screen. Close it. If I play with OBS now, it will crash my stream. We can bring, at least temporarily, Python. No, yeah, it's called should be underscores in the name. Right. So that looks like this, and you have the hand. So this is media pipe as well. This is what in the your capture face detector properties, select window, share. Okay, right, so we have this face. Where is it? This guy over here is the also media pipe algorithm. So keep it there for a while, except that my CPU usage shoots up when I do this. Yeah, so Python currently taking through a whopping 5% of CPU to do this thing. So we might turn it off in a bit. probably a way. Make it low priority. Don't think it will do anything. I'm pretty sure my OBS is not using GPU as well. So there's all sorts of issues with NVIDIA GPUs on Linux, which I have to solve. But that's not what I'm here to talk about. So let's, where is it? This is what we are here to talk about. So let's see what we got so far on bionicchaos.com. We got this ECG game. Here's the ads. Let me know if you don't want to see the ads, we can sort you out. It's, yeah, false alarm becomes faster after you reach a score of 50. So this is normal ECG. I'm not clicking on it, and that was correct rejection. This should be a hit. This will be a hit as well because it's abnormal. Yes, we will later add this is abnormal as well. It's actually a harder one to detect. This is obviously abnormal. This is normal. It's how a textbook EEG looks like. Again, textbook EEG. You get the point. This is abnormal because it's missing that bit at the end. And now it's getting much faster. There should be a video, already a video of me getting to like 1,000 points. It's, yeah, it's crazy fast. Might try it again later. We also have this wavelet image compression, where you can select your image from this drop down menu, select your wavelet type. AHA is default, and the number of bits. So you essentially digitize the image, becomes more granular with less bits as expected. And this is also the wavelet transform, the number of levels in it. So the less levels you have, the more it looks like the original image. But yes, so you can see what difference bits versus levels make. If you wanna something artistic, you can play around with it. For some reason these two don't make much difference, which makes me think they're actually potentially the same. Bioorthogonal 1.3 does this kind of stuff. And at the bottom, most importantly, you see the PSNR, which is a signal to the noise ratio, a peak signal to noise ratio, which essentially tells you how well it's being reconstructed. So essentially, a value of 33 is higher. You can get to up to like 50 or so, but which tells you that the reconstructed image is very similar to the original one. So we'll keep improving on it. This tool actually has a backend, which will be important in a sec, because we're trying to, will be as part of this stream, releasing another tool. And there's a bunch of other tools. There's still, it's all, well, that's why the website is called Biomedical, because it's all prototypes. It's all under development. And yes, if you have any ideas, suggestions, or anything specific you would like me to do or focus on, please leave it in the comments. Now, so also trying to, currently paying for GPT-4, which don't think I actually need. I'm trying to see the difference between a 3.5 and 4. So the first obvious difference is that generating quicker responses, shorter responses, sometimes, you know, more straightforward, straight to the point. So as part of this Flask application, we're meant to have this WSGI file that tells the website where to look for the Flask application when you load it. So we have this file. This should be correct. This is what the GPT 3.5 said, and we'll then read the 4 as well.
It looks like you have a Python WSGI file for a Flask application. This file is commonly used to deploy Flask applications on a web server like Apache or Nginx. Let me explain the code you posted. Importing necessary modules. OS and SYS modules are imported to manage the system path and other operating system related functions. Adding the project directory to the Python path. SYS, path, insert, 0, var, www, bionicchaos, IEEG underscore 2 feet, inserts the directory, var, www, bionicchaos, IEEG underscore 2 feet at the beginning of the Python path. This allows Python to find modules and packages within this directory. Importing the Flask application. From app import app as application imports the Flask app instance from a module named app and renames it to application. This is a common convention when deploying Flask applications with WSGI. The app module likely contains your Flask application. Setting the application root currently commented out. OS, environment, script underscore name, equals, IEEG underscore 2 feet is a line used to set the script name or application root. It specifies a base URL path at which your Flask application will be served. For example, if uncommented, your application would be accessible at http://yourdomain.com/ieg_2/. However, it appears to be commented out in your code. Please note that you have commented out the line that sets the application root using OS, environment, script underscore name. Depending on your web server and how it's configured, you may or may not need this line. It's used when your application is hosted under a subdirectory and you want to specify that subdirectory as the base URL path for your application. If you don't need it, you can leave it commented as it is.
Right, so yeah, we will leave it commented out. That should be fine. Now let's check what GPT-4 said. Obviously provided more details.
My app, WSGI file is used to serve your Flask application on a production server using WSGI, Web Server Gateway Interface. WSGI is a standard interface between web servers and Python web applications or frameworks, which helps to run Python applications on a web server. This example seems to be prepared for an application hosted on a server with a directory path of var, www, bionicchaos, IEEG underscore 2. Here's a breakdown of your MyApp, WSGI file. Import OS and SYS modules. These modules provide functions to interact with the operating system and Python interpreter, respectively. Python. Copy code. Import OS. Import SYS. Modify SYS, path. The SYS, path is a list in Python that contains all of the directories where the Python interpreter looks for modules to import. Inserting a new path at index 0 ensures that the interpreter will look into this directory first when importing modules. In this case, the Flask application resides in var, www, bionicchaos, IEEG underscore 2. Python. Copy code. SYS, path, insert, 0, var, www, bionicchaos, IEEG underscore 2 feet.
I don't know why it's reading the code itself. Sometimes the text-to-speech reads it. Most of the time it shouldn't. Yeah.
Import the Flask application. This code imports the Flask application instance. It assumes that there's an app object inside a file named app.py in the var, www, bionicchaos, IEEG underscore 2 directory.
So it seems to not assume that we're using Apache server, so we'll have to tell it in a sec. Tips for deployment.
Use a virtual environment. It's always a good practice to use a virtual environment for your application to manage dependencies. Use a WSGI server. To deploy the application to a production server, use a WSGI server like gUnicorn or Uzgi to serve your application. Secure the application. Make sure to secure your application by protecting against common web vulnerabilities. Look into security best practices for deploying Flask applications. Logging. Add logging to the application to catch and log errors and information, which is crucial for diagnosing issues in production. Environment variables. Use environment variables to manage configuration, especially sensitive information like API keys and database credentials.
So we're not using we are not using virtual environment. and we're using an Apache server on Ubuntu.
If you're not using a virtual environment and are using an Apache server with mod_WSGI on Ubuntu, then the original myapp WSGI file is okay, with a few potential modifications for improvements. Here is a slightly modified version of your original myapp WSGI file. Additionally, you'll need to ensure that your Apache configuration is set up correctly to use this WSGI file. Below is an example of a virtual host configuration for serving a Flask application with mod_WSGI.
Right, we'll have to modify
Remember to adjust paths
this.
and other details as per your actual application and server setup.
Yeah, we'll need to restart Apache, but we need to find this Apache configuration file and add the new Flask application into it. How to find and modify the Apache configuration. No, so that this is the main Apache configuration file. How about, do I need to modify it, or do I just go into the configuration in the sites available folder? So I don't understand what the difference between the main Apache configuration site availables and site enabled. This is the main Apache configuration file.
Main Apache configuration file location, /etc/apache2/apache2.com purpose. This is the global configuration file for Apache. It contains settings that are global to the Apache HTTP server. This can include global security settings, module loading, and more. It is not typically where you would set up individual websites, virtual hosts.
Right, so the sites available, which we have a couple, and that's the one we have to modify. So I know it, I just want to be clear on what the difference between those different configuration files are, because it's absolutely crucial.
This directory contains configuration files for all your virtual hosts' websites. Each website should have its own configuration file in this directory. However, having a configuration file here does not mean the website is enabled. These are available configurations that can be enabled.
And then you have the enabled folder. This
directory contains symbolic links to the configuration files in the sites available directory. Only the sites with links in this directory are enabled and served by Apache. This separation makes it easy to enable and disable sites without actually deleting their configuration files. Only the sites with links in this directory are enabled and served by Apache. This separation makes it easy to enable and disable sites without actually deleting their configuration files.
Right, so I have a bunch of files there. How to modify? Yeah, we don't want to use the nano. We want to use what's called what's the text editor called? G something. check G. And no, I can't find it. And that's okay. I had this in prompts somewhere. And that was for the we still need that. Was for deployment. Fast to include txt. Right, so we have this. Deploy all. We have config test that is important. Yes, we need the password. Obviously, that's on another screen of mine. So syntax, it says syntax is okay. So that's fine. We need to restart Apache, but also for editing. No, this site is already enabled. Instead of Nano, how do I use another editor? The gedit editor. Sites available, so the site configuration. Is called that. Right, so I have the I probably can show this to you, but never do this. It's not secure. I'll pop it. Pop it into GPT because my thing doesn't have to be secure. This is the breakdown of the configuration file for the Apache
It looks like
website.
you've shared an Apache virtual host configuration file for a server running multiple Flask applications over HTTPS. I'll explain the main components of this configuration, and if you have specific questions or need modifications, feel free to ask.
Yes, it's running on the 443 virtual host. has a domain name, registered domain name, document root, specify the root directory for the website. That should be fine. Yeah, checking spelling. So if you misspell something on the site, it will correct it for you. So for example, yeah, brought to you by, was it Vistaprint? That's, you can tell what I was looking at, right? I think it's only checks for capital. Yeah, so that was a regular letter. So if you spell cardio, that's what it's actually meant to be spelled like. But if you spell it with a small c, it will correct it to capital C. So that's what that does. We have a cell configuration, right? And this is the important bit. So we have 3 apps at the moment. There's fnoise, EG generate, EG gen, image compress web. That's the last one. Let's read this.
Each Flask application has similar configurations involving WSGI script alias, URL path associated with each app, and the location of the WSGI script file. WSGI daemon process and WSGI process group enable daemon mode for better performance and resource utilization. Less than directory greater than permissions and options for the apps directory. Alias for the stat file directory, improving performance for serving stat files.
Right, so that's working fine. Then we have some specific instruction for one of the Flask applications.
Specific for image underscore compress underscore wavelet Flask app, WSGI script alias match, used for URL mapping with regular expression support, providing flexibility in URL patterns. Set env script underscore name, image underscore compress underscore wavelet, sets an environment variable to rewrite the base URL, useful for deploying the app in a subdirectory. Less than directory, var, www, bionic image underscore compress underscore wavelet, static, images greater than. Additional configurations specific to the images directory, with options like enabling directory listing and allowing overrides.
Right, so I don't actually know if I need that or not. So it's saying comments, remove or modify. SSL should be working fine.
Paths to applications and static directories. Confirm these paths are correct and the directories are readable by the Apache user. Permissions. Verify that the Apache user has the necessary permissions to access the specified directories and files. Check Apache and Flask logs. Always check Apache and Flask logs for any issues or errors after making changes. Restart Apache. Always restart Apache to apply changes and check its status to ensure it's running correctly.
Right, so that's handy. We'll check. We'll open another. Oops, no. Another tab terminal. Check the tail of error log. There's nothing on Biomedical. There's stuff on other sites, but yeah, we'll do it later. Yes, always testing. That's okay. Now we need to add this application. Okay, how to add so this will be what is the 4th Flask application. By this time you would say need to know how to do it, but need to get it absolutely correctly. So So we have this open. Yes, add a configuration.
Add the following configuration to the file. Be sure to modify the paths and names to fit your actual setup.
Okay, so this file, I want to get it right. File is called my app SGI. We have that open. Right, that is where the file was actually not there at the moment. We actually have to deploy and change permissions. So we can do that to start deploying. And then we need to change our Apache configuration so that it becomes available for you to play with. So let's do first thing first. Why is all that stuff? Ah, that's the airlock. That's okay. Right, so we copied that. We need a password, of course. That's why I have it on another screen. Sorry for that. Right, so now we should have the folder. Now we need to edit the configuration, Apache configuration file for that specific site. We have multiple sites running on the same server. We need to add this. Let's just check if we have the files called correct name. So yes, we should have this file. Yes, we dedicate 2 threads. Probably 2 is more than its default. We can change it later if my server usage ends up too high. Directory, that should be the correct directory. Not sure about this one. Process group. Okay, that's okay. Application group global. Require all granted. Alias. EG static. Require all granted. That looks legit. Let's copy paste it. Sorry for that. I had to sneeze. Luckily, I was able to turn the microphone off on time. Otherwise, I would have blown your ears. Right, so we have this configuration for the new Flask. Not sure if this is correct.
Adjust other paths and parameters as needed, ensuring the Apache server has the correct permissions to access these directories and files.
Save. Verify that there's no syntax errors. Yes, that's important. Can do it in here. The syntax okay. And we need to restart. Should be after. And restart Apache. So just to be sure, currently I'm talking about this tool here, IG_2, and still displaying this old thing that doesn't work. And after restarting, it's loading for some time. I don't know why. There's a giant logo. I have to fix that. And this seemed to work. Except so it's working. It probably can't get the styling. I bet it has an error for styling. By the way, all this can be removed. We don't actually need to, if it's working okay. It's still in debugging mode, right? There's actually no errors. I thought it cannot find well, it's obviously forgot about it. Okay, so it's working. It should be available for you to play with. There's some description at the bottom. The tool is working. Yes, this logo has to be corrected. This will be in our index. We have this style, CSS. Should also have we're already showing ads. Surely not. This will be too soon. Yeah, there's no ads yet. Probably Google has to like check it or whatever. That tool is there. Oops, sorry, that's the wrong. Okay, we actually want I want the HTML to be similar to that actually. So EG Gen2, or even better, it's our tool. Yeah, so trying to sort this logo up the top, but otherwise the tool is working. You can go check it out in this link. Pop it in the chat. I have previous videos where I explain what's what. Yes, it's still a prototype, so I forgot my disclaimers. 16 channel VG, this is where you can get the data from. So the data is essentially in the public domain, and it's 16 channel of intracranial EEG with epileptic seizures in a non-human animal model. So that's a full disclaimer. It's just something to show what can be done with this type of data. And yes, we'll be doing AI, machine learning, the whole lot, the whole shebang with it. So stay tuned. Yeah, I'm still trying to fix this logo though. It's giant. It's ginormous. So obviously it doesn't have the right styling. CSS file. Let's load it again. It should look like this. It should look like that. So that's the most recent tool that works. Now this one works as well. The window doesn't scale. I had to make the window larger for this to appear larger. So it's not great. Yeah, because it's then changing all the windows on in your browser. So yeah, there will be like all sorts of browser variabilities and things, but not. Yeah, I can test on multiple browsers. I mainly focus on Chrome, then Edge, but it's also Chromium based, and then Firefox. So all your Edge is Chromium based. So much for Microsoft stuff. There's none of that Internet Explorer anymore. Not even that was probably based on Netscape or something. I don't know if you remember Netscape. I'm probably showing my age if I mention that, if I got the name correct. Anyhow, so from image compression, we want the HTML from templates. Yeah, not to be confused with this one. I want to fix the HTML. This one called plot HTML. Image compress wavelets. That's working okay. And this is IG2 that we need to correct. Hopefully that won't take too long. Let's pop them side by side like this. Yeah, we need some sort of header. This is a good template. Maybe sorted in a sec. This one is helpful if you post the link, then whatever Facebook, LinkedIn, whatever, Twitter should take these details. We should have the title already. No, don't even have a title. It's not cool. Have this description. EG data viewer should be good enough. EG data viewer. Just change this to EG data viewer everywhere. And a good image for it as well. We don't have it yet. the other viewer, nice and short, but we don't have that file yet, so. Right, now we have those two styling files. Have that one. And we need this one as well, because this is for the overall page. And now this will be different, obviously. And at the end, we also need this JavaScript. Wait, do we? Pretty sure we do. Not sure it's in static folder. Because this JavaScript is for the menu on the page. Static. URL for static. I'm not sure about this. HTML, wait a sec. There should be a JavaScript. Right. Pretty sure it's this one here. Not that one there. Let's do format document, save. Yeah, it's this JavaScript at the end of the header. So we do have the header. Yes, so this should be correct. Less. Let's pop it back in there. So we need to essentially do this again. That's the code for deploying all the changes we have made. Okay, that didn't take too long. Why it's loading forever. Right, so now it displayed like that. And the colors should, yeah, correct themselves later. That's the bug that we were trying to solve before. We couldn't really solve it. Separation works. Group by side works. Overlay all works. It's essentially the same as off default with separation of 0, but you know, in one click. So this is great. Don't particularly like this overlay. Yeah, so it's working. How far are we in this stream? 50 minutes. We got another 9 minutes to go. There are no questions in the chat, I don't think. Right, we would also like to check it on the phone, but I would imagine it would not look good. I never actually done it yet. I'm just happy for it to show anything at all. This tool have not been working for some time. And check it on the phone. This page now can go. Can go. It's this one. This one here. Yeah, it's loading forever, and it doesn't look good on the phone. Maybe unless you turn it into horizontal view, and then it's a bit better. There's still things outside the screen and stuff like that. Yeah. For the phone, yeah, we could improve a lot how things look like on the phone, and we will try doing that. Potentially we'll also start developing an Android. Don't really want to go there. Yeah, if someone wants to do it, more than happy to share the code if anyone wants to turn it into Android or a application in an app store. But other than that, it looks okay on the problem that this window just doesn't scale whatsoever. So yeah, we can make it yeah, that's the problem. And yes, I didn't have to that's my weird super wide screen. It's this weird resolution, but it's handy if you need your, yeah, so that's what it will look like on a Samsung Galaxy S20, which is kind of closer to what I have. iPhone, yeah, not ideal. What on earth just happened there? Why did it change the, right now it's back? It's super bizarre. Yeah, those numbers, controls should be larger, this should be larger. Yeah, it would be a very different design on the phone. I don't know what happened there. That looked like a bug. How did I have to know how to reproduce it? Clicked on the Windows thing and scrolled. Yeah, I can reproduce it. This menu, yeah, it's working okay. Yeah, so we'll pop it on the top and have a proper thumbnail for it. That, yes, we don't do fake thumbnails. It will be on the, you know, what's in the tool. So essentially print screen of, well, not that, because that doesn't look good. Still trying to resolve that, hopefully. We, by the way, can remove all the all this. We don't need the troubleshooting anymore. Maybe that's will make it run a bit quicker. So there you go. Let's check it out on the site. I'll make more videos on it, on how to use and when it's actually available. I made one, actually released one yesterday, but that was still using the development thing, local server. This is actually in the public now, and